What a good Sunday afternoon, and hope that you are doing well today. And we're going to be picking up in Matthew chapter 27 today, where we left off in the gospel account of Matthew. And here in Matthew 26 and 27, what we've seen so far is Jesus, after he had the Passover with his disciples and instituted the Lord's Supper, and then went out with his disciples to the Garden of Gethsemane, and then he prayed intensely to God, and then he's betrayed by Judas. He is arrested by the Jewish authorities, and they falsely accuse him and have their own trial of sorts. And then we saw where Jesus was denied by Peter. Peter denied knowing Jesus 3 times and went out and wept bitterly. Judas regretted what he had done in betraying Jesus, now that he saw that Jesus was condemned to die. But he tried to make it right, and it didn't work, and so Judas sadly went and killed himself. And we saw how the Jewish leaders bought a field with the money that they had given Judas to betray Jesus. Well, now after all of this has happened, and as the Jews have had their way and they've made these accusations against Jesus, well, now we find, beginning in verse 11, and really even before then, back in Matthew 27 and in verse 2, that when the morning had come, all the chief priests and elders, in verse 1, the people plotted against Jesus to put him to death, so they bound him and led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor, the Roman governor there. And so in verse 11, Matthew 27, verse 11, Jesus is now standing before the governor. So now he is going to be tried by Pilate, and to see what would become of him, what Pilate would say, what Pilate would do. And we're going to look at what Matthew tells us as far as what took place in Jesus's Roman trial. Matthew doesn't give us a whole lot here, but enough to know the gist of what happens when, in Matthew 27, beginning verse 11, that as Jesus stood before the governor Pilate asked Jesus, saying, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And so that's what Pilate wanted to know. We know the Jews were, making some accusations of what, Jesus claimed to be, pretended to be, or according to them, they were accusing Jesus of this. And so Pilate just outright asks Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus said to him, "It is as you say." And so that is a way of saying yes, or affirming positively that what Pilate said is true. But then in verse 12, we find that while Jesus was being accused by the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. So imagine this scene, and Jesus is there, and he knows he's done nothing wrong. We know he's done nothing wrong. Many of his disciples knew he had done nothing wrong. All of these accusations are being made against Jesus as a troublemaker, really a terrorist of sorts, towards the government, at least how the Jews want to make him out to be. All these accusations being made falsely by the chief priests and elders, but Jesus said nothing. Not because he couldn't, not because, these accusations were true, but because Jesus knew what these accusations, Jesus knew what these events would lead to and needed to lead to as we get closer to it. And so in verse 13, Pilate says to Jesus, "Do you not hear these things, and how many things they testify against you?" I mean, Pilate's wondering, well, this is strange because, you got a man here that these Jewish leaders are making all these accusations against, but he's not denying it, he's not fighting it, he's not saying anything. And so Pilate says, "Don't you hear how many things they're testifying against you?" But Jesus still didn't answer. Jesus did not answer Pilate, not a single word, so that the governor marveled greatly. What an amazing thing. What an amazing strength and meekness of Jesus. I mean, how hard it must have been, being in this situation and having all these things said about you, and to not even say a word, to not even try to defend yourself. But again, Jesus was silent because he knew what needed to happen. And so he answered not a word. In verse 15, we're told that at the feast, the governor, Pilate, was accustomed to releasing to the multitude one prisoner whom they wished. So this was a little political trick that the Romans used to appease and sort of seem friendly with the Jews. Is at the time of the feast each year, Rome would release a prisoner of the Jews, whoever they wished. And so we're then told, verse 16, that at that time they had a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. And so, for this to be said, a notorious prisoner, this guy was not good. This guy had done some pretty bad things. Other gospel accounts talk about, the things that he did, listed in a little more detail. But here Matthew just says this guy was a notorious, well-known prisoner. Therefore, when they had gathered together, Pilate said to them, "Whom do you want me to release to you? Barabbas or Jesus, who is called Christ?" And I think Pilate did this intentionally. I think in other gospel accounts, especially in John's account, Pilate intentionally chooses Barabbas, I believe, because, of how notorious, how bad Barabbas was. Pilate probably hoped that the people would obviously choose Jesus, who Pilate could tell had really done nothing wrong. This was just a jealousy thing. And so he says, "What, do you want Barabbas or do you want Jesus?" For he knew that they handed Jesus over because of envy. So Pilate has a plan. Pilate has a strategy here, at least. Pilate is trying somewhat to make the right thing happen. But while he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent to him, saying, "Have nothing to do with that just man, for I have suffered many things today in a dream because of him." So Pilate's wife has a dream and very concerned, and even refers to Jesus as a just man, further proving Jesus had done nothing wrong. But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the multitudes that they should ask for Barabbas and destroy Jesus. The chief priests and elders of the Jews actually went around convincing people that they should ask to release Barabbas, a horrible prisoner, instead of Jesus, who had done nothing wrong. And the governor answered and said to them, verse 21, "Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" And they said, "Barabbas." But Pilate said to them, "What then shall I do with Jesus, who is called Christ?" They all said to him, "Let him be crucified." Then the governor said, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they cried out all the more, saying, "Let him be crucified." And when Pilate saw that he could not prevail at all, but rather that a tumult was rising, that an uproar, commotion, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, "I am innocent of the blood of this just person. You see to it." And all the people answered and said, "His blood be on us and on our children." Then Pilate released Barabbas to them, and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Matthew gives us a short glimpse of Jesus' Roman trial. One day we'll get into the other gospel accounts and really even into John's account where John really plays it out in a little more detail. But long story short, Pilate knows Jesus has done nothing wrong. Pilate knows this is just a matter of envy and hatred. It's probably a, political thing. It's a religious thing. It's not really any concern of his or the Roman government. It's really not even a problem. To Pilate's credit, as limited as that is, he at least knew Jesus was innocent. He at least tried in some roundabout ways to get Jesus to be set free. But sadly, Pilate ends up giving in to the people. For all the good Pilate was trying to do in releasing Jesus, he really totally blew it. He gave in to the political pressures. He gave in to the fear of the people. And so here, as we've seen, as Jesus is on trial and Jesus has done nothing wrong, and now even with Barabbas being the one chosen to be released. A notorious prisoner, a criminal, a wicked man being chosen over Jesus, who was innocent and pure and holy. But this is how corrupt, this is how hard-hearted many of them had become. They just wanted Jesus to be gone. They wanted Jesus dead, and so they wanted Jesus crucified. Pilate basically says, okay, he's in your hands, and they accept that. They accept guilt for having Jesus executed. Pilate releases Jesus to be crucified, but actually not until Jesus had been scourged, had been flogged, his skin and his back ripped to shreds by whips with sharp implements. And that was even, as the Gospel of John tells us, that was an attempt of Pilate to release Jesus, that he thought maybe, if the Jews saw that he hurt Jesus, maybe that would be enough to satisfy them, but it wasn't. They still wanted him dead. And so Pilate delivered Jesus to be crucified. So here is Jesus on trial. He's already been mocked. He's already been beaten and spit on by the Jews. He's now before Pilate and, the governing authorities, and he's done nothing wrong, but all these accusations are being made against him, but he opens not his mouth. He allows himself to go quietly as a sheep before its shearers is silent. And now it has led to the people successfully getting Jesus to the point of being crucified. All because of their hard-heartedness and their hatred, and all because of the fact that Jesus came to be the sacrifice for our sins. As we see Jesus go through this, let's not forget why he did it. Let's not forget why he kept silent. Let's not forget why he allowed himself to be arrested and humiliated, beaten and spat on, scourged, and as we'll see next week, Lord willing, crucified, to experience death. He did that because of us, because of you, because of me. I know we read this and we say, well, I wasn't one of those people, and I wasn't there that day, and I wasn't of those unbelievers. I wasn't one of those who hated Jesus. I wasn't one who said for him to be crucified. I wasn't Barabbas. But the fact is the reason Jesus came to earth in the first place, the reason Jesus allowed himself to go through all of this is because of us. To save us from our sins, whatever those may be. And so we need to, as we read through this and as we see and learn and remember what all Jesus went through for us, especially on the first day of the week, especially in the Lord's Supper, and we remember Jesus' body and blood, let's remember why he did it. It was for you, it was for me to save us. Jesus suffered and died so that we could be comforted and live. Thanks be to God for Jesus Christ. God bless.